podcast to help you design your home your way. It's your girl, Denise Joy. I am an interior designer, a space curator, a 26-year college professor, and I am the founder of the School for Joyful Living, where I help women who crave community, accountability, and support to implement an action plan to live their version of a joyful life. On today's episode, we are talking about how to get organized and stay that way. If you are tired, sick and tired of what I call hunting and never finding, you are going to get a lot out of this episode. I am excited because I have been doing a series on the podcast about declutter, downsizing, and organizing. It's literally one of my most favorite things. I'm a little OCD about organizing, but really because it's so important. It's so critical to all of the things that we want to be successful in life. It doesn't matter if you want to become a better cook, if you want to have a better wellness plan, keyword plan, it all requires organizing. So you have joined the right one to talk about. To say I am passionate about this subject is truly, truly an understatement. I have some previous long form videos that do focus on organizing. I have a couple of how to organize your drawers, how to organize your closet, things that you can purchase to be better at that. And I have an awesome garage makeover video where I share a ton of declutter, downsize, and organizing tips that even though it's for a garage, you can use those tips anywhere in your home. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining me live today. If you are watching this as a replay, make sure that you shout out your state in the comment section. Tell me what brought you here. What challenge are you experiencing? We all have challenges with organizing. You are not alone. What do they say? YOLO, you are not alone. And let me know if you have questions. I promise to get to those questions here on the live, or if you have dropped a question in the comments when you're watching the replay, I promise that I will get to them. So let's dive in. Decluttering is the first part of the battle, but organizing is the best part. I'm going to say that again because it's just so good. Decluttering is the first part of the battle, but organizing is the best part. Organizing requires a system, but I like to keep things simple. Simple and really easy to follow, easy to implement, because I find that that's what works well for me. And I realize I'm a lot like everybody who watches my podcast, who watches my videos on my channel. We like stuff that's, tips, hacks, things like, okay, I could do that. I can implement that. I can make that happen. The guiding principle is everything should have a place. Everything in your home, everything in a room, everything in the kitchen should have a place. Sometimes we say, oh, that lives there. That lives there, right? Everything should have a place, and everything should always return to its place. If your spatula always goes in that drawer, don't put it in a different drawer. Put it back in the same place. Oh, that lives there. You want to just start adopting that kind of like, hey, y'all, thank you so much for joining me live on Design Love Podcast today. Make sure to shout out your state. Tell me what brought you here. And if you have a question. So that's our guiding principle. Everything should have a place, and everything should always return to its place or go back home, go where it lives. You're going to have a location for everything so that you can create a system that really supports you. I want to do a brief recap. I have some previous episodes that really go deep dive into the benefits of being organized, but I want to just do a recap on why you have to create a plan, because this episode isn't going to focus on the plan. It's talking about how do you stay organized, but let me do a recap. The plan is going to help you clarify why you need to get organized in the first place. The plan will help you feel more organized. I love that. I love that about a good plan. It just shifts your mindset. It centers you. It says, let's go. We're ready. Let's make it happen. The plan empowers you. A plan will help you see the light at the end of the tunnel. I have found that whenever I work with clients, and certainly for myself, if I don't have a good plan, a decent plan, it just feels too big. It feels overwhelming. It feels like, oh, I cannot do this. I have a video where I show how overwhelmingly cluttered my outdoor garden shed had become. And because it was so overwhelmingly cluttered, I ignored that garden shed for a whole year. I kid you not. As much as I love organizing, it was just the bane of my existence. It was the one area of the outside and inside of my home that remained just ridiculously cluttered. Except one day I was looking at the weather. Well, it was a week, and I said, this is going to be an exceptionally warm day because it was the wintertime, and I set my plan in action. I'm going outside. I'm going to spend the entire day for however much daylight there was, because it was winter, so it was less time. And it put a time bound a plan in action for me. And when I tell y'all have to watch that video. It's a tiny shed video. I did that. I did that. It's really ended up funky and fly and so much more usable. But the plans empower you. The plan helps you see the light at the end of the tunnel. All of us can use that. Seeing really right about now, the light at the end of the tunnel. Actually, I just posted on my Facebook page and on Threads that now more than ever, every one of us should be creating plans that are doable for the kind of reason that I've set here. Plans help reestablish equilibrium when we're in what we think of as a crisis. I personally think that there's a crisis happening, and yet I go to my locus of control and my locus of operation, which is more interior, inside of my own home, inside of my community. What could I be doing? Organizing. I'm not distracted. I'm not ignoring things. I'm keeping up with what's going on, but I'm also continuing to move forward. Plans also will shift your mindset. You'll begin to think, I can do it. In fact, that's my personal favorite self-cheerlead. You could do it, D. You could do it. I love to cheerlead myself on. You can declutter, downsize, and organize your home. You can do it. You're also going to figure out what is essential for you to live a joyful life. When you start creating an organization plan, a system that you can actually commit to, and then plans will give you good boundaries. For example, I plan and commit to putting down social media from 7:30 to 8:30 every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I'll do some light organizing. That's a plan. All right. Here's 2 challenges of not being organized, and I know you can likely relate to these because you showed up for this live podcast. You're going to try to get organized, but you end up with a bigger mess. That's likely because you lack a system. You get organized, but your success is temporary. You organize one week, the next week you're like, how did it get this way? And then you have difficulty with changing your behavior. Usually for that one, I find that people need some more support, additional support. So let's get into fixing how to get organized and stay that way. I have divided today's topic into 5 steps or 5 key areas. Number 1, organize your home to fit your lifestyle. I'm going to deep dive into all of these. Number 2, what is causing the clutter in this room or lack of organization? Number 3, this is my favorite, create clutter-free room rules. It's a bit of a tongue twister. Create clutter-free room rules. And then number 4, what organizing products could you use better, more efficiently? And then 5, use containers and grouping. Let's get into it, y'all. Number 1, organize your home to fit your lifestyle. Yeah, you do get to do that. For example, if you moved into a home and, I'd work with a client in New Orleans. It's a perfect example. They had a formal dining room space designated in the home, but they weren't formal dining room people. So she wanted that dining room to be reimagined as her home office, which meant she had the perfect opportunity to reorganize the entire way the room was actually used and how she stored things to benefit how she wanted to use that space to fit her lifestyle. What is the identification of each room? This will tell you what should be in that space and what should not. So for example, I'll use the dining room again. If you do use your dining room, but you're using it also as an office, but you also have an office, then you are actually using 2 spaces to do the same thing. So you'll have to decide, Do I want this to only be the dining room, or will I just commit to using my office so that you can create also some room rules and some boundaries? When I go in the office, I'm doing office stuff. I'm doing things for the business or for my job or whatever. When I leave that room, I'm not doing office stuff in other parts of the home. I then have created some good system organization boundaries to actually support your sense of wellness and your well being. I love this stuff, y'all. I sure do. Then, number two, under organize your home to fit your lifestyle, give careful consideration. Does the room have a single or a multiple use? A lot of times we do that. In fact, the example will go the opposite. If you do have a dining room and you end up doing office type things there because you don't have a designated office space, then you'll want to do some reorging in that room so that you can support what you've decided what happens in that space. You get to be empowered. You get to be in charge. I love to say I'm the boss of me. I'm the boss of me, right? I set the system up. And then because I care about myself, I love nurturing myself, then I follow. I commit to the system that I have created. It's a kind, generous thing I'm doing towards myself. Here's a big tip. Usually, part of your home or room is already organized. Pat yourself on the back. Give yourself credit. Don't keep thinking I'm just completely unorganized. That's not really true. Part of your home or room is already organized, so give yourself credit for it. The part that is not, accept that, acknowledge that, and that's the area you're going to pay the most attention to. Walk through your home and look at what's lying around with no permanent location, meaning it doesn't have a place that it lives all the time. That's going to tell you what you need to organize. If you got a pile of clothes, a pile of coats, pile of papers, etc., they're just lying around. Those are the things that you're going to put your attention on. And once you knock one area out, then that momentum gets started and you're going to be able to keep that going and you're going to address some of those other areas. You want to think about organizing based on categories. Group things that should go in a similar category that makes sense for your lifestyle. I already mentioned my outdoor shed. I do gardening. I do a lot of outdoor entertaining. I'm still tweaking and modifying, but I've really got that area close, almost to 100% of how to maximize the organization out there. I actually did a complete reorg on my gardening area in December of 2024. Again, it was a unseasonably warm day. I took advantage of that day to get out there and move some things around. And you could do that kind of woo-saw exhale when you get something organized to fit the way your lifestyle is currently. So I encourage you to do that, tackle that. So step one, organize your home to fit your lifestyle. Let me know in the comments which of these are resonating with you, which of these tips, and you're like, I could do that. And I could do that fairly quickly and easily. Step number two, ask what is causing the clutter in the room. Typical things like items just don't have a place where they stay. I'm putting things down in random spots, right? This is familiar for most people where you have like a landing spot for your keys. You tend to put your keys or mail. We don't get as much hard paper mail, but anything that like deliveries, you say, this is the landing zone. That's where that lives. You want to make sure that things have a place. But if you don't have a place, acknowledge that. You don't have enough storage. That might be the issue. You just don't have enough storage, and you have to get more creative about how you put furnishing pieces and or other storage components. You got stuff that just doesn't belong there, right? Why is the room cluttered? Why is the room disorganized? You put things in a space or in a room that don't belong there, and you've just let them lie. Too much stuff, and you need to remove some things. You need to do another sweep of decluttering. That will help you to organize. My recommendation always is declutter first, organize second. Declutter, downsize, I always put that together, and then organize after. What things should be in this room that are not there right now? There may be something you actually need in the room, but you have neglected to put it in the room to help you out and anyone else who lives in the home because you're creating an organization system. And then room or area has no defined category. Categories help you to create an organization system. So sometimes you move into a home or you've even been living there and you're always thinking, well, that you might even tell folks, oh, that's the odd room. Some people say, oh, what's this room for? Oh, that's like the catch-all room. Stay away from the catch-all room. Don't identify rooms in that way. Don't call it the odd room. Give the space a designation. If you just got rooms like that, heck, call it your wellness room. Give it an identity. And in that way, once you give it a category and an identity, you're gonna just start thinking about, okay, how do I need to organize this space? How do I need to lay this space out properly? All right, that's step number 2. Ask what is causing clutter and disorganization in this room. Tell me in the comments which of those tips, ways of thinking, questions that you're asking are new for you. They're going to be helpful for you. You're like, all right, I see you, Denise, helping a sister out. Absolutely. Let me know in the comment section below. Thanks so much again for joining me, everyone who's on here live. I appreciate your time and your viewership. All right, step 3, create. This is my favorite. I use this so much, and it has helped so many people that I have worked with, clients. Create clutter-free room rules. Yeah, you're going to say, all right, this is how this room is going to run. This is what can and cannot happen. This will automatically create a system of organization because the clutter-free room rules designate what happens and what doesn't happen. Here's an example, if you or someone brings something in the room that normally doesn't belong there, it must be taken out and put where it came from. Right? Some people implement these rules sort of subconsciously. Say if you have children, they bring, you say, take that out, take that back out, right? So you're already thinking about subconsciously clutter-free room rules, but I'm saying make it really intentional, really get unapologetically specific about it, okay? And usually that's for you first. Because if you live in a home where, my son is now older and is out of the home, but I started implementing this clutter-free room rule when he was young. Oh no, you take that back. Where does that go? Where does that belong? You can start very young. At a young age, children love to follow instructions pretty much, right? With, setting aside the terrible 2 tantrums, like, oh yeah, and you can even make a game of it to really help a younger person really understand clutter-free room rules without using the word rules. But us grown folks, we here's another example. If something is used like a blanket, when you leave it, when you're leaving that room, put it back. I have little baskets. Well, they're not little. I have some nice sized, gorgeous baskets, and I have my room blankets in there. And in fact, this just happened to me yesterday. I was watching watching an episode of a wonderful show on Hulu called Paradise with Sterling Brown. Awesome. I had my little blanket, all my little lap blanket. And then I got up to, get ready to go to bed. And I had laid the blanket over the edge of the chair. And in my brain, I said, clutter-free room rule. The basket is right there. Roll that blanket back up, put it back. Literally, I had to do my own reminder to myself to follow my own clutter-free room rule. What you're doing with the room rule is creating a new, more beneficial habit. We can all use consistently to help improve our habits. So it might sound like a little thing, but if I start ignoring the clutter-free room rule, I'm apt to start ignoring other things that I have created, boundaries, good boundaries that I have for myself, because everything's a spillover, right? I know you can relate to this, what I'm talking about. Number 3, under create clutter-free room rules, create a sanctuary room for yourself or for anyone else in your family where that room or that corner is designated for folks to be able to refresh. You can even start this with your young people. Some people call it a meditation room. Some people call it a wellness spot. I say sanctuary, but it doesn't have to be just for you, right? The she shed, the diva den kind of thing. It could be a corner. But if you have young people, if you have children, encourage anyone to be able to go to that spot and do a refresh, a replenish of their wellness, their well-being. It's just the best. That process, you like to keep a wellness or sanctuary spot organized because we're looking for balance, equilibrium, peace, all those words. So that can be a place to start where You want to implement clutter-free room rules because it's easier to say, I need to protect this space, right? I need to protect this corner. This can't get all busy because I need it to be my spot, where I go to and connect to source, connect to spirit, whatever philosophy or religious beliefs you follow. Um, Number 4 under this, clutter is not mandatory. Clutter is not cool. Just decide that. Clutter is not cool. Clutter is not mandatory. Clutter doesn't make you look like you're so, you're doing a lot, like I'm doing things. Absolutely not. Get rid of everything. This is the rule that does not add value. Just go ahead and determine, I can release that. All right, which of these tips, hacks, suggestions resonate deeply with you? You feel like I can start implementing that like in 10 seconds, D. I can do it. I love it. I love it. All right, number 4. We almost through here, y'all. What organizing spaces could you make better use of? I find this to be super common. Um, Certainly when I'm working with clients, but I always put the test to myself first. I'm my first client, quite honestly. And I'll spend some time really right before spring jumps off, kind of like that spring cleaning kind of mindset. And I'll step back and look at my closets to determine, am I actually still using this space in the most efficient way that will be beneficial and supportive to me? Sometimes I might rearrange where I have different shoes or whatever because I had some boots in the wrong place. And I'm like, why am I always reaching? Reorganize it. Be kinder to myself. Be more supportive to myself. That's the way, to me, you show deep, deep self love. When the choices that you are making on a day to day basis fully support the way in which you need to operationalize your life, centered on joy, care, love, courtesy, reflected back to you, honey, you can't help but have a whole wellspring of that vibe, that aesthetic pouring out to other people. And like I said earlier, right now, it's no better time to practice this. It's no better time to make these kinds of shifts in the interior of your life. It is your most beneficial locus of control to be interior, and that includes the systems you set up to organize your life and organize the interior of your space. Hey, y'all, welcome to the podcast. Thanks so much for joining me live. So let's talk about it. How well are you using things like the upper shelving in your closet? I happen to be 5'8". So pretty much I'm not that, as they say, height challenged. So if you are, get a sturdy step stool. That's an easy one to knock out. You say, girl, you got all that space up there. I can't ever reach it. Let's solve that. Get you a sturdy step stool. Get used to putting things that you use less often in the higher areas of like your closet space. And when you need to access it, grab that step stool or step ladder out, boom, you're right there. Okay? There's really no good reason not to fully maximize out your closet space. I'll tell you something. When I moved into this, I'm in a 100-year-old bungalow. This is the 100-year anniversary of my bungalow. I actually have a whole video series on updating my 100-year-old bungalow. So if you want to check those videos out, it's really great to watch how I remodel the interior and the exterior of this home entirely. But my point in this is this. When I moved here, the closet in the bedroom had been retrofitted, which happens in older homes, under stairs, a set of stairs. So it kind of had these odd angles, but the previous owner hadn't really made truly efficient use of that space and all those angles. They had one wire rack across the top, and you just couldn't really access well the other space above. I tore that out and built. I had someone build, and then I also built half of it because I finished it off to truly maximize literally every crack and crevice. Now, it really was just purchasing wood, pre-made wood shelves. Well, pause. I actually took the measurements, went to the big box store, pulled the shelving that I wanted. I happened to just want to use the actual wood. I didn't get painted white or anything. And then the big box store cut the wood to my measurements. So I didn't even have to worry about, oh my God, I don't have a flat saw or whatever. And then I brought it home and I hired someone to do some of the more I hired someone. I don't have to tell you what they did, but then I finished off, I built the cubbies and everything. So then I was able to make that space fit the kind of organization I knew I needed. And I doubled what I had available to me in this really odd shaped closet. I have a video on it. So if you want to check that out for inspiration, if you too have sort of an odd shaped space. But how well are you using upper shelving? Also under the bed area, I find that sometimes folks will use the under the bed area, but they have the wrong kind of storage item under there, so they can barely get the item out. You want to look for things. I'll tell you what, I'm not caping or capping for IKEA, but they have some really nice soft form underbed storage that have handles on both sides, so you can pull the thing easily in and out. It's a great tip if you need to use that space. But I also challenge you to reconsider, do you even need to use that space? Do you actually maybe just have too much stuff? You actually have to go back to the declutter step, the downsize step. No shame in that. No shame in that at all. This is a completely shame-free space. Um, this one here is a biggie. Consider not even having seasonal clothing. Well, I don't mean that literally. I mean, yes, have seasonal clothing, because if you live in an area like I do where I have, 4 seasons to the year, but this is where it's radical. Consider only having enough clothing that fits in the closet space you have, even though you have different seasons. Pause. Pause for, I don't know, that might be too radical for me, Denise, right? It could be, but it could be that that's the case. I actually have been implementing this particular how to use my organizing space better. And I'm now down to one tote that goes in. I have a basement, and I could pack out my basement with, oh my God, I got all this. I decided, can I do this? And so I now have successfully gotten that closet the way that I can really maximize everything. I use the cubbies mostly for sweaters and things that I would wear in warmer or cooler weather. I have a whole shoe section, boots and shoes, where boots go in a certain spot. So I'm just saying, give it a try. You might be so pleasantly surprised, and you might end up even being a little bit relieved. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you look in the closet and you're like, oh, there's so many things in here that I have not worn. I haven't had a chance to wear. We tend to repeat items that we know and feel we look the best in. So, and then we ignore things that might be a little bit newer and we haven't sort of felt it out to see, am I my fly self in that outfit? So these are some tips and hacks that I want you to truly consider, y'all. You, like I said, you the boss of you. I'm the boss of me. You're the boss of you. You get to create an organization system that really fulfills the life that you deserve. Um, yeah, so let me know which of these really resonate with you. We're down to step number 5, using containers and grouping. This is so, so great for you. You want to think of drawers, shelves, and closet rods as storage containers. Like, the closet rod is the place where you hang things, quote, store things until you want to wear it. So you want to think about how to most efficiently utilize that closet rod. So here's where we come to grouping. Are you grouping or organizing your clothing by color, for example, by usage, or even some people do it by material? There's lots of ways to organize the clothing rod in your closet. I personally organize my clothing rod by color. I put everything that's red together. Well, excuse me, by two things, by usage and color. So blouses that are short sleeve, blouses that are long sleeve, blouses that are patterned, even go into color groupings. I find it to be fun. Some people might be like, oh girl, that's too much work. Well, you know what? When organizing at first is work. And then after you have it organized, then you just have maintenance. Maintenance is really the easiest part because you already have your system in place. And then it's just building the muscle of love and nurturing and honoring and generosity so that you maintain it. I didn't say habit. I said the love, the nurturing, the generosity, the care, so that you maintain the system you created. All right. Everybody listening to this podcast, you can do it. You can benefit from it. I'm so earnestly on this. Organize your clothing, your shoes, your kitchenware, your books in a way that makes sense for you. I just said I organize mine by color. Might not work for you, but grouping is the thing. Okay, grouping means that you're going to put books, you're going to put clothing, shoes. I told the story a couple of podcast episodes ago how I had 12 spatulas. Now they were all together, but I realized this was on my decluttering episode. I had part one and part two for decluttering. And I said, now I don't, first I asked, how did I get 12 spatulas? Because that was the true first question. And then I said, well, I have them. Do I need 12 spatulas? Absolutely not. So then I set one of my decluttering rules is set a number. All right, my number will be 4. I get to keep 4 of these spatulas. So then I went through the spatulas. I looked at size. I looked at how much use they had. And the other 8, I donated to my local thrift store in really good condition. I don't know. You know how we get sometimes you're like, oh, I need a spatula. Oh, that's a nice one. I never had one like that. Just caught up in the consumerist mindset. It happens to the best of us. Yeah. But the thing is, I have a saying, increased self-awareness allows you to self-correct quicker, sooner, faster. I live by that, but I don't always have it 100%. I'm just like everybody watching this podcast, right? We get caught up, but we get to go back and fix things. Think about how you can make better use of vertical space. You might purchase something that you can put on the wall and hang, or even build something where you have enough space. You can make better use of maybe tucking behind a door. Depending on how your home is built, you might have some space that won't take a lot to build something where you can store and hide things behind there. You can also keep light things together in separate containers. The Container Store is a great place that you can shop at. But honestly, biggest tip probably of this whole podcast, go to your local thrift store. You are going to find so many things that you can use to organize, because most of what we're organizing is out of sight. Now, if you are an aesthetic organizer, okay, then you might want to spend that kind of money to buy all the baskets that are exactly the same and the cubbies and things like that. If that's for you, do you, boo? Do it. All right. If you want to invest in that kind of money for something that no one's going to see but you. But if that's a loving, nurturing, caring, honoring way you like your organized system to be, do it. I am not an aesthetic organizer, with the exception of my color-coded clothing, right? But I'm not an aesthetic organizer because I would rather take those kinds of funds, that kind of money, and put that somewhere else. I might invest it, or you'd be amazed at what you can do with a couple of $100, because usually that's about, honestly, aesthetic organizers are going to spend anywhere from about 200 to maybe $500 trying to maintain that aesthetic, similarity of look in terms of how and the containers they use to store things. So I recommend first hitting that up. If you're not an aesthetic organizer, take advantage of, like I said, just learning how to do some basic building. It is not hard. And if you don't have that, that's not your gift, that's not your superpower, find a handyman. You might even use TaskRabbit, which I highly recommend. It's like the sort of the Uber for home improvement, or handy, hiring people to come do something in your home. The way it's set up is very similar to Uber. And you can get something built out to your specifications of what you would like. So using containers, groupings, baskets, laundry organizing. You can get those laundry. I've used this in 2 clients' homes where you can get a fully contained laundry organizing system. But you want to make sure those types of things are really sturdy. Don't go too cheap or inexpensive, like, oh, that's $100. But you're going to be putting a lot of weight on things like that. So keep that in mind. You want to get something that won't end up in the landfill or the trash, in 2 years. Something that's going to go long term. And go for a custom build. I believe in custom on a budget, which is why I talked about, when I redid that closet, I was happy to just have the beautiful pine wood. I chose it was oak. Well, anyway, it was just the wood. I can't remember what actual wood it was, but it still looks nice, and it's not outfitted in white. I could have done the work to go and paint every shelf, which I actually did when I owned my condo. I did a shelving unit that I built myself in my condo's walk-in closet, and in there I did paint everything out. My home. Let me repeat that. I am organized out of respect for myself and others. I honor my wellspring of self love by organizing my home. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining me for Design Love Podcast, where I share tips and hacks to help you design your home your way. These live episodes drop on Mondays and Wednesdays at 10 a.m. But if you're watching the replay, shout out your state, let me know what brought you here, drop a question, and I promise to answer it. I'll see you all in the next episode. Have an awesome day, everyone.